Hello and welcome back to my podcast, Our Voice, Our Choice. The topic that we're covering today is relationships. It's an important topic. The two guest speakers, or amazing guest speakers, like all my guest speakers have been, Emily and Brigette from Shibui. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. How are we?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Aaron. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm been sweating a fair bit. Probably didn't want to know that, but
It's that weather. It's fine. I think it's happening to all of us, isn't it?
yeah, and I don't handle the heat particularly well. I sweat like a pig and forever changing my clothes. It's annoying, but
It's just the time of year it is too.
Absolutely, you're not wrong. Lost the train of thought. Relationships. Did you guys want to tell us a bit about yourselves and Shibui?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Shibui Services is a charity here in Newcastle. Emily and myself founded it in 2021, just before COVID hit, which was always awesome. We provide some free education around healthy relationships for people with a disability living here in the Hunter. So we run face-to-face programs, which we just really go through different types of relationships and about trying to support people to identify what they would like out of a relationship and what's important to them, and then how to identify a relationship that isn't healthy and what to do with that. We spend a lot of done a lot of work and put a lot of time into these programs. So.
Yeah, I would say we try to have a really inclusive and accessible kind of concept or model. So we've had people who consulted on the programs that have a disability, and they include art therapists, psychologists, people with domestic violence background, counsellors and that kind of thing. Because we recognised that there was a lack of education for people with a disability around relationships that was free and inclusive. So we make sure that we are aware of people's support needs before they come, that all of our team is trained. We have created a bit of a volunteer framework, and our concept is that we really want people with a disability to volunteer so that you've got that peer connection when people come for the programs, because it can be really intimidating at first. So the idea is to create a really safe and open space so that people can explore some of these concepts that are quite tricky.
That's cool. I was made aware of Shibui, I think it was 2021. I did the men's program. Andrew Vodic, the CEO here of Cedar, I think he gave me a call and said, Aaron, are you interested in doing the men's program at Shibui? And I'm like, Shibui?
Yeah, it's an interesting name, I know.
No, it wasn't that. I'd never heard of Shibui before, and I said to him, I'm interested, but I said, where's Shibui located? And he said, they're in Mayfield, not close to the Waratah train station. And I'm like, okay. And then I was thinking, what street? Because there's a few streets near that train station. But the men's program itself, I enjoyed it. It was run by Cody and Paul.
Yep.
I found they were two very cool guys and easy to get along with, and they did a darn good job, and I enjoyed it. So
Great, thank you. That's really awesome feedback. Yeah, we do try to have facilitators that are very much attuned to creating that safe space for people to have those conversations. They're fairly intimate groups. They're not big, so that we can explore some of those concepts that maybe don't come up every day when you're out for coffee or at work, so that people can have those conversations and ask questions as well.
No, I think there was only four. I think only 4, maybe 5 people participated in the program that I did. If it's okay to ask, is Cody and Paul still with Shibui?
Cody is, yes.
And what's good old cheeky Paul up to nowadays?
I'm not too sure what he does now. We haven't seen him for a long time, probably since around the program. So, yeah, who knows what he's doing now.
We have inconsistent programs, I guess you would say, because some of them run for 4 weeks and some of them run for 6 weeks. And we are looking to implement more one-day workshops so that people who can't commit to 4 weeks or 6 weeks can actually access some of the content. But it means that our team members sometimes, they all have other jobs and things, and they do this it's like a labour of love, I guess. They're very passionate about what we do. So they make themselves available, but it is inconsistent, I would say. So we have a great team of people that we bring in when they're available, depending on when the program runs and what they're doing with their time. So we've been lucky enough to have a great network of facilitators and team members and volunteers that make themselves available to us when they can.
That is great to hear. I found that the really short workshops are the way to go nowadays, because people's attention spans and availabilities and whatnot tend to wane or change. So I think the super short workshops are a thing for the now and the future.
Yeah, I think we're finding that too, and we can break the content down into kind of bite-sized pieces and maybe do some activities and explore some specific content or themes, rather than we find people get very socially anxious about the idea of coming to a group where they may not know anyone. So a workshop can be a more casual setting as well, we think. So that's one of the things that we do, is develop resources. So some of the content about relationships out in the world is not necessarily, it wasn't working for some of the people that we were working with in the programs. And so we've really restructured everything. One of the things that we've done is scripted and outlined a consent video, and a great animator has animated that for us, and it is quite different than the other consent videos out there, because we wanted to make sure we were giving people really clear and specific information about consent, and that seems to be working really well. So we're really passionate about taking information and then making sure we're delivering it in a way that is accessible and inclusive to anyone that we might be supporting.
It sounds like consent. It sounds like you've gone and done it in a cool and fun way. You know, it's just not the boring old paper here, read it, sign it, give it back to us kind of thing. I really like that. I don't think I've, to be honest, ever seen a consent video before. Yeah, no, I don't think I have.
Well, hopefully we can show ours this coming year, which would be really cool to everyone. So, we there is just a couple out there, and they're filled with metaphors that really, it's not that easy to understand. So our one is this is just what it's about. So we're really proud of it. Actually, it's really cool. So we hope we can share that with you soon.
That sounds cool. I really am looking forward to seeing it. Sounds like you've put it into like like easy to understand language
Yeah, definitely.
instead of the big like fancy metaphors and flashy words, and which I'm not a fan of because I'm a sports coach, and if you use flashy words and that too often when you're coaching, not just I really only mainly coach or have coached people with disabilities, but they tend to get confused and they just look at you and go, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we found. Some of them were too vague. Even some of the language was too vague, and people were saying, but what does this mean when I'm on a date? What does it actually mean practically for the way that we interact or behave with each other? It was still leaving too many areas unanswered. So this is very, very, I would say fairly black and white and straightforward, and gives people the information that we know is correct, and it doesn't really leave anything up to the imagination. We're really open. We believe that things like sex education is really important, and it's a big part of some areas of our relationships that need to be explored and supported, and that comes along with medical information and that kind of thing as well, how we take care of our bodies. So we're very open to that kind of thing. And another video that we got created was online safety, because we're finding more and more people are wanting to have relationships online because it's easy. It's a bit easier. It's a little bit less intimidating. And we're all online now, so it's easier to start those relationships online. So we're finding that people are coming to us with lots of questions. So that was another video that we created, and we're trying to develop further resources about that. So, for example, one of the workshops might specifically focus on online relationships and safety, to give people the tools they need to have appropriate and healthy relationships online.
Yeah, that's... Sorry, I'll start again. That sounds awesome, amazing, whatever other, great sounding words that are out there. Speaking of relationships and dating, Emily and Bridget, the first question in regards to relationships I've got for you is what are some of the things we are thinking about before deciding to enter a relationship?
Look, one of the really important things would be about, trying to identify what your own values are, and what are you looking for in a relationship? What are things that are really important to you, so that you can continue if you do go into a relationship, things that are important to you that you get, and also things that are important in your life remain in there as well. Another really important thing I would think is about setting the expectations for yourself and for people that you might be entering into the relationship with. So what do you want out of that relationship, and being honest about that? Is it just a one night stand that you want, and that's okay? Is it just physical intimacy that you want with nothing else? Do you want to be able to see other people, or do you want to actually get into a relationship and you're looking into the future, and you might want to find a partner that you could be with in the future as well? So being honest with yourself about what it is that you want, and then the people that you're meeting too, so that that when you do go with someone, if you've been honest and they've been honest with you, you're then working together, you're both on the same page. So that's something that I think is pretty important. And also, what do you want out of a partner? So whatever type of partner that might be, is there their values, or are there some commonalities? Do you want to have some shared interests? And their personality traits, what do you like and what do you not like? Sometimes, it might be really important to you that you date someone that's always on time, because if they're not on time, you might get really stressed. So you want to make sure that, you're thinking about some things that you want to see in a partner.
Yeah, I think it's really important, that expectations thing, that you're having open communication with someone that you might be looking to get into a relationship with, because if you both think that it's going to look a certain way, And for example, we're going to spend every minute of the day together, but the other person really appreciates a lot of time on their own and they haven't had that conversation in that dating process or that initial getting to know each other process, then it can create a lot of unnecessary conflict and distress once you're in the relationship. One of the things that we work on with people that we have been surprised, I guess, that it's so effective is quite a simple strategy, but the idea of identifying your own values. And we've had a lot of people say to us, nobody has asked us these questions. How do I know what my values are? And I think you don't really know what you need in a partner or what you're looking for in a partner if you don't know what is important to you. So I think really establishing what your values are and what is important to you is really necessary if you're thinking about heading into a relationship, because otherwise it creates a lot of confusion.
Thank you, Emily, and Emily and Bridget for that. When I think relationships and what I think about before I decide to enter one, I just normally think like stuff of like honesty, understanding, patience, and like the things that you mentioned, like the things in common, and just the other things like what attracts you to someone. Like you might be only interested in I'm going to say in a the other person that they might have to have big muscles or something, or they might, it sounds silly, but they might have to be at least a certain height, which sounds ridiculous, but there are people that are like that, and that's what they're interested in. I don't care if they're muscular or how tall they are, or if I can say so, what their skin color is, if they've got a disability or not. So that's just me. If we can move on to the other end of a, like, once you're in a relationship, what are things people are thinking about when they just before they just decide to end a relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the things maybe to consider when you're ending a relationship is, what are the reasons that you're ending the relationship for, and maybe some considerations that you might need to take into account when you end that relationship. And that could be things like, do you have anything like shared bank accounts or shared any type of stuff, does that need to be thought about? Are there, do you have family or friends that you can talk to about what's been going on, and that you're ending the relationship and you might need support to do that? If you're living together, when you end the relationship, is there somewhere else that you can go and stay? So all those sorts of considerations are probably really good to think about. And the reasons for ending the relationship is really important to consider as well.
I would just add to that, it's really important to understand that even if we think ending a relationship is going to fix something, and it might not be the relationship for us, it might be unhealthy, it might be just that it's kind of run its course, that all of us carry stuff from our relationships, and it be positive, negative, all of that kind of thing. So to make sure that as much as possible you have a support network that can help you over the next little while, try to figure out your life without that person. what's that going to look like? What do you want it to look like? Give yourself time to grieve, even if you're the one that made the decision. Just coming from that place of kindness to yourself and others. If it's an unhealthy relationship or you are unsafe, then there's other considerations that we might need to think about. That is things such as, who do you have a conversation with that will keep it confidential? Who will keep a secret for you and maybe not tell your partner? So we find if somebody's in an unhealthy relationship, often there are issues with that person only having access to the money and things like that. So it is trying to have conversations with people who might be able to support you to exit safely and have access to mainstream services and other services that can help you to make sure you have finances and somewhere to go, that kind of thing. Make sure you stay safe, can go to the police with you, that kind of thing. So there's a whole bunch of other, I would say, complicated things that come from considering ending a relationship with if you're in an unhealthy relationship. I would also just say I think it's important to acknowledge that some of the things that the questions that we get asked about isn't just intimate relationships. We quite often get asked about how to start a friendship, how to end a friendship, how to start an appropriate or positive relationship with a support worker, or how to end a relationship with a support worker. So I thought I'd just throw that in because relationships can be quite broad and complicated, and we do get asked a lot about friendship and support workers and paid supports as well. So I think those things probably need to be considered as well with some thought.
Absolutely. Thanks, Emily, for throwing that in there. Of course, there's all sorts of different kinds of relationships. Relationships / friendships. If we could, just something else before moving on is, I think it's daunting to decide to start a relationship, and it's I think even more so when you decide to end a relationship. It's not a simple thing to do, not an easy thing to do. And I'm not an expert on relationships by any stretch of the imagination. My last relationship was 12, 13 years ago. After my last one ended, I was quite happy to be single for quite a while, just doing my thing and just doing what I do, which I still do. But the next question is relationships of any kind. What does a healthy one look like?
So a healthy relationship, some signs of that would be that you've got someone that you can trust, that you can share personal information about yourself, like life stories and things that, that concern you, things that make you happy, things that make you sad, all that sort of stuff, and know that they're just there to listen to you. Someone that you can have fun with, someone that supports you to have fun with your friends and family. So, whilst you have fun with your partner, they also want you to be having fun with other people that does not include them. And obviously someone that supports all your goals and your dreams and what you want to do with your life. Someone that they respect your decisions, even if they might not support them, and might not agree with them, they still respect your decisions and realize, understand that's your right to make the decision in the way that you want to. So there's some pretty good signs, I think, of a healthy relationship.
Sorry, just quickly, Emily, before you start talking. A sign of a healthy relationship to me is, someone who you can just be silly, goofy with.
Absolutely.
And they don't judge you or make fun of you for it. That's that's a big sign, I think, of a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. And it's so individual to the person too. So what's, for you it might be really, to be goofy and to have fun and to muck around. And then for someone else, it might be that their partner understands that they like their quiet time and need some time, to do whatever it might be. So it's so individual to you and yourself and what you like and what you value and what's really important to you, that whatever that may be, they support that and respect that.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same, Aaron. I think that's really, really important, to have a laugh and to be able to feel safe enough with someone to be silly, I think is really, really valuable. I would say that there's a real foundation of kindness that is really, I think, really important for creating that space where you might be silly, or you might be trying to figure out something in your life, or you need to brainstorm, or that safety, I think, comes with that kindness as a foundation. But I would say someone that helps you, they respect your boundaries. So if you maybe say, I really need to go to bed at 8 o'clock, that's just what I need for myself to take care of myself. And then that person makes you a cup of tea at 8:15 and just wants to talk. And you've said, I really need to go to bed, they may just be thinking they're doing the right thing, but you need to learn how to respect each other's boundaries. And if you don't know what your boundaries are, that person with that foundation of kindness can help you explore that for each other. So I think it's just that creating that safe space, as Brigette said, to talk about the things that matter to you and just float ideas and to be silly, so you feel comfortable and safe with that person.
Another big boundary is the touchy-feely, when it's okay to, touch and, get affectionate, and when it's, just not on. Understanding when it's the right time and when it's not acceptable is another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's probably a really big one for people to figure out what each other's level of affection and comfortability with affection is. And I would say that if you can have a space where you're kind to each other, then it's okay to then communicate that maybe you don't like being hugged, or you do like being hugged, or you like someone to ask you first. I think that's a really big thing as well, that if you have maybe, it can be really complicated in a relationship, but I think that to be able to communicate that what you're comfortable with, and then somebody else respect that and then try to explore it together, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, and just finding out what each other likes, and when someone might be ready for something, because it could be at different times. So it's just having those open conversations. And like Em said, if you're in a safe space, and even though it might be, a bit nervous but exciting, but a bit unsure about what to say, if you are with someone that does come from that place of kindness, and you can talk to them about it, then, hopefully you can you get there in the time that's sort of right for both of you.
Can't agree more there. I think you put it in short terms is what it is respect, understanding, and even patience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The next question is unfortunately opposite to what a healthy relationship looks like. What does an unhealthy relationship look like?
When we touched on what a healthy relationship was, when we spoke about being able to spend time with your friends and family and not spending time with your partner, a big sign of an unhealthy relationship is if that partner is not wanting you to spend any time with anyone else other than them. They get really jealous or really angry, and they are very controlling with who and what you spend your time doing. Things like, that control, I guess. So how do you spend your money? How do you spend your time? Making you feel sort of lonely and isolated as well. So, and that getting you to think that they're your only option for friendship or relationship, or having connection with someone, that if you won't be lonely if you stay with them, but they still make you feel really lonely and isolated. Lots of fighting and arguing. So some fighting and arguing is good, and I would say, that's just part of being in a relationship. You're not always going to agree, and that's why it's about finding someone that can then help you realise, so you can work on yourself and identify your values and try and build on your confidence as well. But also when you meet someone that comes from that place of kindness, then they're also going to be there to support you, to help you see that you are worth it, and because they believe that you're worth it too. So, yeah.
And I think I would just say, just start really small and slowly. So if you want to end up in an intimate relationship, maybe just try to, like we said before, stay open and be friendly and say hi to people, and that's okay too. But lots of fights and arguing is a pretty big sign. And then making you feel at fault for everything. So, always making you feel like, oh, well, if I'd done that differently, it might have gone this way, or oh, I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or, could be from like cooking someone food, your partner food, to buying the groceries or whatever it may be, but that you're always at fault. The eggs could have been better, or this could have been better, or you should have done this better. So always feeling that you've done something wrong. And then you've got things like all the different signs, the different types of abuse. So you've got your physical abuse. That would be, hitting or kicking or punching or squeezing, or, any type of, touching of your body that you do not want.
Pushing.
Or pushing, exactly. Yep, anything like that. Then you've got like, the emotional abuse. So that would be things like, calling you, like could be, it's verbal abuse as well, but emotional abuse. So really making you, I guess, goes back to thinking that things are your fault, or you've done things wrong, or you should be better, or you're not worth it. And then you've got, obviously sexual abusive behaviour. So that would be, touching you intimately without your consent. And then verbally abusive, so calling you names, yelling at you, putting you down. And then there's also what is called unique abuse for people with disability. So that would then be using your disability against you, or making you even like making so if you were out for the day with your partner, and you kind of, because you were just with them, you might be relying on them for some type of support, and then they refuse to provide you with that support as a way of controlling. So there's, and that would be very unique to the person with the disability themselves and how that looks. Anything, Em?
Yeah, I would say just all of the above, but somebody that can't respect your freedom, it's really important that both people in a relationship have a sense of autonomy and freedom and respect. So I get to make a decision about where I go to work and who my friends are, and that's autonomy and freedom, and my husband respects that. And if somebody is not respecting your decisions and your autonomy, and that's a consistent pattern of behaviour, then that's some really, really unhealthy dynamics that within that relationship. So if you feel consistently like your boundaries are crossed and that you've articulated them, and somebody is consistently doing that, I think that is a big sign of an unhealthy relationship. It is really complicated because, especially with things like control that might start slowly over a period of time, that person isn't going to start on the first date calling you names. They're not going to start trying to control your money on the first date. So they may look very different, and it happens over a period of time. So one of the things that we hear from people is that they didn't really know how they got so deep so quickly. So they will get into a relationship and then they will start to feel bad about themselves all of the time because that person is reflecting something unhealthy to them, controlling their behaviour, that kind of thing. And then they won't really know that it's their partner doing it sometimes. They'll feel like, oh, it's me. There's something wrong with me. So it's really complicated. But I think especially in those first signs of dating and as you're starting to get into a relationship, if somebody is using something against you, if they're calling you names, if they're telling you you're bad at things, it's a really good sign to go and talk to somebody you trust about whether this is actually a healthy relationship or if there's something that is unhealthy about it.
Yeah, and I would just add as well, like kind of what you're saying, Em, like no one's going to jump in and say, hi, nice to meet you. I'm not going to let you see your friends. I'm going to control all your money and I'm going to make you feel like absolute crap about yourself. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, I'm the best person in the world. So, come with me because I'm awesome. So, some things to, if you feel like that maybe you've gotten into a few relationships that haven't been the best, they have been unhealthy, it might be worth having a think about having a bit of a screening process, kind of like you might do, which would be really good with support workers too. Like, what are some questions, some key questions I could ask that might, give me more of an insight into what this person is actually like. So, so that would be something that I think would be a really bit helpful to be able to identify something at the beginning, or help at least identify, because we know that people lie. They don't tell the truth from the get-go. So,
Yeah, they put on what I like to call an actor's face.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So they put on they put on a false spin, if that makes any sense. Or you've unfortunately come across car salesmen that'll spin you a yarn or two, and then you go, great, I'm gonna buy this car, and then you buy it, and a little while later you're starting to have all these problems with it, and you're like, what have I done wrong here? Or what have I got myself into, or something like that. And yeah, it's really not a nice feeling at all.
It's not. And I think when you've been told that you don't have any worth or that you're not good at anything, you really start to believe it. So I think right from the beginning, with getting support to have a screening process, does this person have long-term friends in their life? Do they have family members that they're in contact with? Are they open when I ask them questions, or do they avoid certain subjects, that kind of thing? Because a healthy relationship has to be mutually beneficial. It can't only benefit one person, which is what happens in an unhealthy relationship, is that one person gets all the benefits. So, you can really start to think about that and talk to some trusted people about what you want in a relationship and what does that look like, because that screening process can be really, really important.
Yeah, the benefits, as you said, should be equally shared.
Yeah.
If it's okay that we move on to the next question, it's what tips do you have for someone who is struggling to get into a relationship of any kind?
We get asked this a lot. It's something we're really passionate about.
Good. Glad to hear.
Because I think that we underestimate how many people are feeling lonely and isolated. I think the circumstances in the world with COVID, and people think connection online is a source of connection, but we're hearing that people are not really feeling connected at the end of that they're missing that deeper connection. And we know that having relationships in your life is crucial to our well-being and our mental health. So a few tips that we would say quite often are, have a think about what your interests are, and then try to do some research to try to find some people in your area, or an excuse to maybe meet up with someone based on that interest, because it gives you something to talk about. If you are socially anxious and you're not really sure how to behave or how to start a friendship and to find an intimate partner, that's really overwhelming. So if you can start with some kind of something in common, some kind of interest, that's really, really helpful. I would say you really have to be prepared to be a little bit brave, to have a conversation or ask someone out for a coffee, and they might say no, and that's okay, because they might be in a place in their life where they're maybe not looking for a friend or a partner. So then it's about supporting yourself with the tools if somebody has said no, to be okay again, and then put yourself in a position where you can do the same thing again. It's trial and error and it's hard, but it is normal to feel lonely. It's normal to feel isolated, and there are other people that feel like that. So it's important to remember it's not just you. You're not the only one. And think about some things or some places you could go that you might run into someone that has something in common with you.
Yeah, and I think as well that even if someone says no, you could still have a friendship with someone. It doesn't always have to meeting someone that has something in common or a similar interest or something doesn't mean it has to lead anywhere. But at least if you do have a new friendship, you don't know where that might go to, and you can practice those skills. You know, the more sort of friendships you have, or the more people that you connect with, is then, you know, you're getting experiences and you're building skills and refining your skills. And because so much of it is about experience as well, like your past experiences, what you've learned, what's worked, what hasn't worked. So, you know, by going to those sort of a place that might have something that you like there and someone else might have that there, and you can start a conversation. It might not be an intimate relationship, but it could be something, and at least you're kind of practicing and being brave and getting some more confidence as you go.
I would say practicing those skills is really important. So the idea of challenging yourself to say hello to someone at the supermarket and not expect a friendship to come from it or anything, but practicing those skills of having a conversation, saying hi, making eye contact and smiling, that kind of thing that might tell people that you're ready for connection. That's really important, I think. And then, as Bridge said, have a think about, instead of beating yourself up when you walk away from something that doesn't work, think about, maybe what could I do different next time? Because we're not all born with all those tools that we need to have healthy relationships. We need to practice them and develop them. So, yeah, challenge yourself to say hi at the supermarket, or, you know, if you see the same person on the street every day, give them a wave. And I think it's just creating that confidence to try.
Something I just thought of then was something like a starting point that I think could be easier is just, you know, giving eye contact with someone, smiling and just waving is a very like base start of something, maybe.
I think we'd be surprised how often we are focusing on what's going on in our mind and what we're thinking about, and maybe how we don't appear to be like we're actually ready for a connection. We might be at the supermarket thinking about 25 other things we need to do, and there's somebody that's smiling at us and we haven't even realised. Or the checkout person is trying to have a conversation with us and we're thinking about the other things that we have in our lives. So I think it's important to be aware too that, that body language of smiling and saying hello is really important, because somebody we may think we're really ready for a connection or a relationship, a friendship, but it may not seem that way if we're in our own minds thinking about we've got to hang the washing out. So I think it's really important to be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, and you said the exact same words, like ready for that connection, right? So if you're not actually ready, your body shows you're not ready, and people know that you're not ready. And it's really different when you are ready and you do change how you sort of appear because then it can make a world of difference. And I know just from like growing up with a lazy eye contact for me was really tricky because I can't make eye contact. I have a lazy eye, it moves. So I had to be brave to be able to like kind of go, okay, well my eye contact might be a bit different to someone else's, but if I smile and I am showing that I'm open to this connection, and then generally I say, oh, by the way, I've got a lazy eye, so I'm looking at you anyway. But, you know, it takes a while to sort of get there. So I think, but like, I know the change in myself if I am open and I am willing to connect with someone, the connections then seem to come. If I'm shut off and I'm hunched over and I'm not wanting to look at anyone or something like that, I won't get a connection. So it is really interesting, body language and how the effect that it has on other people and yourself.
I would also say if you're struggling to make friends or find a partner, I would consider why. Is it because you've been hurt in the past? Is it because you've been rejected in the past? And if that's the case, there are professionals or people who can help you understand how to heal from that, but also how to maybe recognize if you've had 2 unhealthy relationships, what the pattern might be. Is it that you are attracted to a certain kind of people that are not treating you very well because you don't feel like you're worthwhile? Or is it that, you know, there could be so many reasons. So there are people who can help you recognize maybe why you're scared to get in a relationship or you're scared to have a friendship if you've been hurt before. That's a big one that we hear about. So giving yourself the kindness and the time and the patience to heal from that so that you can trust somebody again.
Yeah, and I think the patterns are really important too, because if you're meeting someone at a same type of place each time and it's not working out when you want it to work out, then maybe there's a type of person that you're meeting there. Maybe it's, you know, because we know sometimes online dating isn't safe, and we know that people go onto dating sites in particular to really prey on people that are vulnerable. So have a think about what your own behaviour is and whether that needs to change, and put that screening process in place to go, okay, I need to make some changes so that I can meet someone that's genuine, not someone that's just in it for their own gains.
Yeah, they're just... I was going to use a word there. I call them fakes.
Yep.
Just a quick question: Are you fans of dating sites?
Or I've never really been on one, but I've had lots of friends that have, and heard stories, and so I can't really probably give that much insight. But all I can say about the stories that I've heard, I've heard success stories and I've heard some not success stories, and I think it really comes down to the dating sites, like what type of dating site it is. I know, you know, like sometimes people pay for dating sites, and sometimes paying for dating sites can cut out a lot of people that are on there because they don't want to pay. They don't want to have to pay to be on a dating site. But I think it comes down to dating online and dating face-to-face comes down to, again, probably having that screening process, knowing what your values are, sticking to those values, what's important for you, and then seeing if you're meeting someone that's going to match that criteria. And if you can meet someone in person after meeting them online, then that's really important, because we all know that when you sit behind a computer, even if you're seeing their face, anything else can be happening and you can't read any body language. You can't see what's really going on. You can't see if they've got 5 screens open and are talking to 5 different people at the same time while they're talking to you. So being able to take that relationship offline and meet in person in a safe way, and there's definitely some things to remain safe about doing that. Like meeting, if you meet someone for the first time, meet with other people there, have it in a public place, make sure you've got phone reception and you've got credit on your phone and full battery, all types of little tips like that. But being able to take that relationship offline so you can actually meet that person in person, face to face, and be able to see more about them.
I think it's the most common way people are meeting now to date. So I don't really personally have an opinion on whether they're positive or negative. I think they're probably both. But the same as the original question you asked about if you're looking to get into a relationship, you obviously have the intention of getting into some form of relationship by going on the dating site. So let's think about, again, what those expectations are of a partner and being really clear of what you want and what you're looking for, because I think that does weed out people who are there for the wrong reasons. And then, as Bridge said, when you're meeting them, make sure someone knows you're there. Make sure you've told someone the address, that maybe someone has that goes with you or something like that. And then, not assuming that everything everyone's telling you is the truth on online dating. Having a little bit of, having a step back and not being too invested too quickly.
Because people can write anything. They can hide behind a screen and write absolutely anything. They can make it sound as the most beautiful thing in the world or make you feel really special and everything like that. Yeah. But like I said, they could have 5 other screens open on their computer and just typing the same thing to 5 other people. So, always to be very mindful of things like that when dating online.
I would say we've had some really, really interesting stories about red flags that have come up actually very, very quickly online. Some of them might be being asked for money. Some of them is actually calling somebody names within 2 or 3 weeks of having a conversation online. So, just be really careful because, the same thing as a face-to-face relationship. You've got to have that screening process. Yeah, they ask
for locations really quickly too, like where you live and where you hang out and stuff like that. So, someone doesn't need to know that you're dating unless they're coming to pick you up from the house. There's no reason for them to sort of know that sort of stuff. So being, aware of if they're trying to find out personal details about you very quickly.
Absolutely. At the moment, I'm not a fan of online dating sites. For example, anyway, the last one I tried was eHarmony, and I was in a conversation with someone, and then just all of a sudden they stopped. They stopped communicating, stopped replying to my messages, and then I just assumed that they weren't interested or no longer interested. So I just ended the conversation, and then shortly after that, I actually cancelled my what do they call it, subscription or membership to eHarmony, and ever since then I've not really been a fan of online dating.
I think that's a really common story, and I think it is really hard to replicate what a slow, healthy dating process would look like online, because you don't get the opportunity to, as Bridget said before, have that visual or the understanding or the feeling of being in their company and having the body language and their reactions and responses. So people tend to build trust very, very quickly or invest very, very quickly online. So you don't get that opportunity to kind of build really slow trust because it's not really what's done. And then, I think you feel a lot really vulnerable and open to that kind of rejection, which is really hard to keep doing that over and over again. So I would say give yourself a break as you have. It's really smart if you don't feel ready or in that place.
I appreciate that. I do. I really appreciate that. The next question is, what tips do you guys have for someone who struggles to stay in relationships?
I think a little bit about what Em and I touched on was about the patterns, like how you're meeting the people that you're having a relationship that it's not lasting, like where are you meeting them? Is it online? However that may be. how much you actually know about them, like in your relationship. How do you get to know them? How do you get to know what's important for them? How do you share what's important for you? And like, yeah, where are you meeting them? You know, where, like, you know, is it just bars, for example? You know, are you going to the bar and having a couple of drinks and meeting someone there, and is that the same thing? And then, you know, the relationships aren't, you know, going from there. They sort of end up being, you know, a one night stand or something, and there's nothing that continues from that. So it would really be going back down to what we said at the very beginning, back to the basics of finding out what your own values are, being able to identify them, and think about whether in those relationships that you've been having, that you've been struggling in, or they've been ending, are your values shining in those? You know, are you able to, have you been able to communicate with them what their values are? Do they know what your expectations are? Do you know what their expectations are from them? You know, are you meeting some? If you want someone to have a long-term relationship with, are you just meeting people that are only interested in one-night stands? Because then it would never work anyway. So do you need to meet people that are actually in it for the same reasons that you are? So really having a think about your own values and what's really important to you, what you're looking for in a relationship, and then that pattern again of, yeah, how are you meeting someone, and does that need to change? Do you need to go to different places to meet people?
I think also be open to reflection, that we are all practicing skills and that we are all needing to learn and develop our relationship skills. And so sometimes it can be trial and error, and sometimes the person you're dating is going to get it wrong, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong. But to be able to be open to the idea that you might be behaving in a certain way or bringing something to the relationship, whether it be expectations or something like that, that maybe you can adapt. You know, what are some things you can work on? You can get access to some trusted professionals that can help unpack that for you. So being open to growth and open to changing and upskilling. And sometimes two people are just never meant to be in a friendship or never meant to be in a relationship. So sometimes we just need to be okay with that not working out. But if you find yourself just in these patterns of in a relationship and then not being able to maintain it, then you can really consider, what is it that happens? Who can help me figure this out? Because I don't want the same thing to happen again. So you could even talk to your friends about this. You know, they might have some insight about you that you maybe don't have, or somebody else who can help you identify, yep, when you start to date and you get serious, you freak out a little bit, you know, why? You know, and start to really have a think about some of those patterns, and what can you learn from a relationship that maybe hasn't ended, or has ended but hasn't gone where you want it to. What can we learn from that? So some reflection.
Let's. Sorry, I'm having a ripper today. That's really, really good, Emily and Bridget. Or Bridget and Emily. I've always and like being very honest here, I've always been naive as to why, and really quite lacking in knowledge in terms of relationships. I've kind of just thought, this being for someone who's got intellectual disability, I have level 1 or mild autism, or it's also known as high functioning autism. They've got too many names for it. That it's because of the disability. Not meant to be in a relationship. I don't belong there. And yeah, that's just the way I used to think. Because of my disability, relationships, aren't for me. Which, I don't know how many people have said, Aaron, that's crap. Forgive my bad French, but that's crap. You've got plenty to offer someone else. And yeah, I just thought I'd share that little bit with you.
That's really awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Aaron. And I think it's a common misconception or a lie that we tell ourselves that somebody else isn't going to find us attractive or interesting. But I would say that we do sometimes have expectations that relationships are just going to happen and that they're going to just be easy when you find the right person. But I think we know that that's not the case, that friendships take work.
I was gonna say, relationships, friendships, you need to put the work in.
Yep.
They're not just gonna go, ta-da, and it's this you-beaut relationship, happy days, and
nope, it takes work.
I'm happy as Larry.
Yeah, and people grow at different stages, so you can be in a long-term partnership and you are going through different things at different times and growing and changing, and same with friendships. So it's not easy. It doesn't just happen automatically. It takes thought and energy and kindness and the ability to reflect.
And to be patient with the other person too, because like Em was saying, if you're going through different things at different times, then you're going to have to give that person, support them through their tough times, and maybe realise that, oops, they weren't very nice that day or something like that. But that doesn't mean the end of the world. It just means you might just be going through something and you might need to give them a bit more support. And I think as well, like Aaron, with you talking about like how, your feelings and stuff about a relationship and whether, you're essentially worthy of a relationship, and those feelings, you're definitely not alone in those feelings. It's a lot of people have those feelings about, am I, and that's why it's about finding someone that can then help you realise, so you can work on yourself and identify your values and try and build on your confidence as well. But also when you meet someone that comes from that place of kindness, then they're also going to be there to support you, to help you see that you are worth it, and because they believe that you're worth it too. So, yeah.
And I think I would just say just start really small and slowly. So if you want to end up in an intimate relationship, maybe just try to, like we said before, stay open and be friendly and say hi to people, and that you never know where a friend you meet down the road will lead. When you start to practice the skills and you grow some confidence because you've made one friend and they want to hang out with you, and then you stay open and you want to make another friend, so you do that, you start to build some confidence and you start to practice some of the skills that you need in a relationship, which is really great for when you want to end up in a relationship, an intimate relationship long term, to be patient and to recognise that this is an opportunity to practice skills.
So I think it's basically when you're looking for a relationship or friendship, putting your, hope I'm using the right words, but like putting your best foot forward all the time, which is like being friendly, saying hello, smiling, waving, good positive posture. If you're talking to someone and you're hunched over like this, and people are just going to think you're not really interested in what they're having to say, well, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Emily and Brigette, thank you very much. This is my bad. A question that I didn't send you is a fun checkout question. I end every episode with a fun, not too serious kind of checkout question, and although this one could be a bit a little bit more serious, but My checkout question for you is what's one thing what's one thing that's precious to you?
Ooh.
I'm pretty good at the checkout questions,
Okay.
I've been told.
That's hard.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm going to group it together and say my family is probably the most precious to me. So that's, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same. I have to group them together and say that. I know that's a little bit of a cop-out, isn't it, really? But that's a really hard question. You stumped us.
Apologies. Mine is, it's a pretty simple one for me, and that's the amazing woman that raised me. That's my mum. She is and always will be my hero. Yeah, she's just been brilliant. And if it weren't for her, I probably could end up. I could be, I could be in jail or something if it weren't for her, because I was a bit of a shit when I was a kid and that. And she's steered us, or tried her best anyway, to steer us in the right direction, which I think I'm sort of headed in the right direction.
She sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. She is, but she's just one of many women lately that that have amazed me. I just think this is something a bit off topic, but in the nicest and most respectful way, you couldn't pay me enough money to be a female. Just the stuff that you guys have to put up with, use like the diseases and conditions and that to use that are either more common or only found, if that's a bit of, I think, a crude way of putting it, that women can unfortunately attract things like breast cancer and cervical cancer, and then there's like pregnancy, then giving birth. I know it's being pregnant and then giving birth to a child is, in the end, is is an amazing thing, but like all the pains and aches and all that you got to go through. Oh, my back hurts, or my ankles hurt, and stuff like that. You probably drive your partners or husband bonkers. And then the giving birth side of it is, no thanks.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Aaron. And I probably would say that whilst you're absolutely right, especially women with a disability are the most vulnerable to, where we're talking about relationships. The statistics for women with a disability in unhealthy relationships is really, really, really much higher. So I appreciate that. Thanks, Aaron.
No worries. It's just honesty. It's just how it is, what it is. But you guys have been awesome. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you agreeing to be on my podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad. Have you, just super quick, have you been on podcasts before?
No.
I went on one. Yeah. It was a couple of years ago, but yeah.
And how does...
Well, that was online, so I didn't have to sit with a microphone, but this was more fun because we got to sit together and do it together and stuff. So yeah, this was good.
So did you? I'm hoping, because I just with all my interviews, I try to make it casual and relaxed, and not stressful. You just you've
done a great job with that, because it makes people be honest and not feel nervous.
I feel it gets a better conversation. Therefore, even though it does make me look good as a host, but it gets better conversations.
I get really nervous by these sorts of things, and I don't feel nervous, so it was good. It was really
Awesome.
good.
Again, thank you, ladies.
Thanks,
all the
Aaron.
very best to you both, and all the very best to Shibui. I look forward to seeing how big Shibui comes. I think it'll be huge one day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we get to do some more things. So appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Send out all your vibes.
Yeah.
And again, to my awesome listeners, thank you for tuning in, and to everyone, have a great and safe week. See yous.